Hi everyone, I hope you all are great. Today we will have hyphens and dashes. First, you have to log in using the aplusstudent.com. Click on your name, move on to language at the grade 9. This lesson is for the high school advanced writing, so we will get it under the grade 9. Chapter is hyphens and dashes. Lesson will be use hyphens in compound adjective and use dashes. All right, so a compound adjective is an adjective made up of more than one word. Okay, so it's made up of more than one word. In general, you use a hyphen to join the words of a compound adjective before the noun it is modifying. Do not use a hyphen when the compound adjectives come after the noun or pronoun it is modifying. So, for example, we have an open ended question, that well known actor, and my 2-year-old cousin. So, the question is open ended. That actor is well known. My cousin is 2 years old. So, do not use the iPhone when the compound adjective comes after the noun or pronoun it modifies. Okay, just like this one's over here. So, compound adjective always use a compound adjective always use a hyphen when the last word of the compound is free or the first word of the compound is self. So if you have free or self, then you use your hyphen, like the toll-free number, self-conscious person, a person who is self-conscious, the number is toll-free. So you can see that. And then compound adjective never use a hyphen when the first word of the compound is an adverb ending in ly or when the compound relates to region or nationality. So so we have the freshly washed sheets. You don't use an a hyphen there, and the Latin American artist. You don't need to use a, a hyphen. Okay. So also note that there are special situations where two adjacent modifiers do not form a compound. Okay, so for example, adjective modified by adverbs of degree such as more, most, least, very, or rather are never considered compounds. They do not use a hyphen. Like a more effective leader, you don't need to use a hyphen for this ones. And then we also have adjacent adjective are only considered a compound if the first adjective describes the second adjective rather than the noun. So an expensive new decks, an inexpensive looking decks, like that. So let's look at some of the examples. So we have what here? So when aviator Charles Lindbergh was the first to fly nonstop from New York to Paris in 1927, he did so in a custom-built airplane, the Spirit of St. Louis. So we have what? Add hyphens to compound adjective where necessary. If no hyphens are needed, submit the test without making any changes. So we need to add a hyphen where in between custom built. Okay. So we have our researcher at the Paul University has studied how personality traits may affect an astronaut's suitability for a long-term mission to Mars. So we have what? Long term, we put a hyphen in between that. Okay, so let's go to the test. Share your answers with me. So you add your hyphen if it's necessary, but if it's not, then you just omit it. Then you just omit it from the text. Okay. Would you like to live in a dormitory on campus or would you prefer off campus housing? The college recruiter asked Ellie. So is it first or second? So we have off campus. We need to put a hyphen in between the off and then the campus. Okay, Hiram Powers started his career as a sculptor by creating wax figures in a museum, but in 1843 he achieved fame with a full-length sculpture called The Greek Slave. Is it gonna be the first or the second? So we have the second one. The self-conscious young man was uncomfortable on his first date with Omar. So is it first or second? All right, so we have young man. We don't need to put a hyphen in between that, okay? In 1994, Tom Hanks won the Oscar for the Best Actor for his portrayal of Forrest Gump, a good-hearted but naive and simple-minded man who finds himself at the center of a historical event. Okay, so which of them, first or second? Okay, so what do we have? So the hyphen should be in between good hearted, okay? So geothermal energy, hydroelectricity, solar power, and wind power all produce carbon neutral energy. Is it gonna be the first or the second? So we have a hyphen in between carbon neutral, okay? So one researcher at DePaul University has studied how personality traits may affect an astronaut's suitability for a long-term mission to Mars. Is it the first or second? So we have long term. So in his new book, the mountaineer shares hair-raising tales of his numerous expeditions to Mount Everest. So first or second. So we have the first one. Ed Sullivan booked the Beatles on his TV show after he witnessed hundreds of frenzied fans waiting for a glimpse of the long-haired musician. London's Heathrow Airport in 1963, first to second. So we have the second. All right, that's it for this lesson. We'll move on to the next one. To complete this one, if you haven't done it, we'll move on to use dashes, okay? A dash often represents a pause, okay, in a sentence. The dash can show a clear break or set of extra content from the rest of the sentence, such as an aside, an explanation, or additional details. So, according to the legend, King Midas ultimately died of starvation, all because of his wish that everything he touched should turn to gold. So this dash shows a clear break, starvation, all because, okay, shows a break. Then Warren strives to control every aspect of his life, but life dash surprise dash doesn't always accommodate his wishes. So you can see that this dash is set off and aside from the rest of the sentence. Okay. Then setting quakes, repeatedly washing one's hands, checking that doors are locked, or counting things may actually be symptoms of obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, this dash set off additional details from the rest of the sentence. So you need to know that some dash set off aside an explanation or additional details. So in dialogue or quoted text, a dash can indicate an interruption or mid-sentence correction. So it could be the interruption or the mid sentence correction. Lauren protested, but dash, no, you are mistaken. So the dash shows an interruption. Inside a dash before not to mention its long history of. Okay, this is a question, all right? So you need to know that in a dialogue or quoted text, the dash indicates an interruption or mid sentence correction. Okay, I was hoping that hello, can you hear me? Irene said loudly into her phone. So we have what? We, then hello. So the dash is supposed to show what? Interruption. Okay. So new DNA evidence suggests that the kiwi, a small flightless bird found in New Zealand, is closely related to the enormous extinct elephant bird. So we're gonna have the kiwi, then we have a dash. Okay. So moving on to the test, share your answers with me, okay? So at the International Dragon Boat Carnival in Hong Kong, hundreds of teams from around the world, some 5,000 paddlers in town race to the sound of beating drums. They're gonna be the first or second. Okay, so we have what? The first one. So the trade union's president was voted into office by a resounding majority. At least that's the story they gave. So first a second. All right, so we have the second one. Okay. So we will use the town of Killarney as our base. The Irish tour guide said, then we will head out to, oh, how about the Dingle Peninsula? Is it gonna be the first or second? So we have the first one. Beneath the Church of Santa Maria della Concezione in Rome, Italy, lies a burial chamber, a six-room crypt filled with the skulls and other bones of about 4,000 monks, first or second. So we have what? The first one. Okay. So Tim Samaras, the legendary storm chaser killed by a deadly tornado in 2013, was known for his daring mission to collect data from passing storms, first to second. So we have what? The second one. When cross country skies, legs aching, and lungs burning across the finish line of a race, they often collapse like rag dolls. First or second? Okay, so we have the first one, okay? So the aptly named Petit Pont, a bridge in Paris, just 65 feet wide and 105 feet long, crosses the Seine at a point that has been used as a river crossing since the days of Julius Caesar. First or second? So we have the first one. All right, that's it for our lesson under the hyphens and dashes. Can you tell me if you have any questions? All right, since we have no questions, we'll end here. Complete this lesson if you haven't done it. See you all next time. Bye.